another active wildfire season across the Northwest and, of course, here in Idaho. So today on Smokey Bear's birthday, we're talking about how you can prevent forest fires with John Robison, and really wildfires overall. This man has a master's in environmental education, is currently with the Idaho Conservation League, and loves fly fishing because it somehow does not drive him crazy. John, welcome, appreciate you coming by. So let's start, before we get to prevention, just how do wildfires work and how do they affect the land and ecosystems that they burn on?
Right, well, wildfires have always been a part of Idaho's forest, and they're really critically important for several species of plants and animals like lodgepole pine and blackback woodpeckers. They rely on wildfire, but too much wildfire can be a bad thing.
Gotcha, yeah. And that's interesting that you sent along your responses. I saw that. It's like, wow, they're actually good. They're sort of, we've always had wildfires, but how have wildfires changed over the past, I don't know, 100, 200 years in the state since we've been here?
Wildfires have changed, and they've gotten worse and more severe over time. And this is due to a couple things. One, we got really good at putting out all wildfires everywhere. And so it led to an unnatural buildup of trees and overgrowth. And so forests are unnaturally dense right now in many places. And so when a wildfire does come along, it burns uncharacteristically hot and severe at times. And so that can be bad for our water quality and our wildlife and our environment. Some wildfire, again, is good, but right now we're seeing a big, unnaturally dense forest out there in many places. And it's gotten worse because of climate change, with fire season being about 80 days longer every summer now.
Yeah, and it's almost in some areas year-round now if you look sort of around the country. That's crazy. And how key is prevention in that? And we'll start, I guess, with just agencies who manage our forest and our public lands, say in the fall, kind of doing controlled burns and stuff like that, and clearing those areas out.
Prescribed fire can be a fantastic, cost-effective way to reduce clear out the brush and the ladder fuels and really restore forests. So when fires do come back, they behave normally and actually are beneficial. The other thing that has happened recently is that accidental human ignitions are now cause 80% of wildfires.
Wow.
And so we actually have a lot of people out there accidentally setting fires out in the woods, and that's causing big problems because usually in the heat of the summer when conditions are severe.
Yeah, and we keep talking about the Moose Fire, that fire we just had up in the Boise foothills, both human caused. So the big question, how can folks watching right now avoid starting wildfires and just responsibly enjoy the outdoors?
Right. And one of the best ways to enjoy Smokey's birthday is to get out there in the woods and enjoy it, but also be safe out there. And so that means making sure, if you choose to have a campfire, and you might not, it might be a great night to enjoy the stars. So one, maybe even forego a campfire. But if you're going to have one, it can be really enjoyable. Make sure that you have a nice fire pan or a fire ring. You've got a bucket of water, a shovel nearby. And before you go to bed, douse the fire and make sure it is cool enough to touch. And also, when you leave the next morning, check your fire and your neighbor's fire, because sometimes people will drive off and they'll leave it still burning. And so check your neighbor's fire and just look out for each other out there.
Yeah, and just because your fire, you don't necessarily see flames, doesn't mean that it's totally out.
Right. And even when you're getting to and from the woods, making sure that if you have a trailer, that your chain isn't dangling down and setting off sparks on the rocks. And also, don't park on dry grass. And all of this fire, again, is being driven by climate change with hotter temperatures. And so everything we can do now to reduce our carbon emissions helps with prevent future wildfires.
John, appreciate it. Great tips.
You bet.
Thank you so much. For more resources, you can head to IdahoFirewise.org. We'll have more information online. There's some other places as well, NFPA.org, IDL.idaho.gov.